Hello friends, I'm George, the nice smelling gentleman. Welcome back to the channel guys, I hope that all of you are doing well. It's springtime, at least in my part of the world, which means that the weather outside is a lot warmer than it used to be, and that means that we have to take out the scents from our collections that were great in this type of weather. So today's video is going to be about 15 awesome cheap fragrances that work great in the springtime. Now 15 fragrances are quite a lot to cover, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about each and every fragrance mentioned in this video, otherwise the video will become just too long. I'll quickly go over them. I'm going to quickly tell you, how they perform, what they're cloning, if they're clones, and I will share a few additional words about each and every fragrance. And I'm going to start with a fragrance from the house of Armaf that's called Nuit per Homme, and this fragrance is a clone of Green Irish Tweed from Crete, and it's actually probably the best known clone of Green Irish Tweed. You get this sort of a very fresh, very green, slightly sweet, slightly citrusy fragrance that just smells clean and nice and just works great in the springtime. Performance here is pretty decent, about 7 hours of performance. Just a quick advice about this fragrance: keep in mind that it just needs a bit of time to macerate before it actually reaches its full potential. Initially it was quite rough around the edges, the scent, but after a few months of maceration this fragrance started to smell really nice. So the first fragrance in this video, Nuit from Armaf. The second fragrance will be again from the house of Armaf, and this one is called Araf Legacy. This is another clone fragrance. This fragrance is a clone of Chanel's Platinum Egoist. It's not a one-to-one clone, it lacks a bit of that metallic edge that the original fragrance has, but other than that it's actually quite close to the original scent. It's again another green, slightly woody, slightly fresh type of scent that brings a sort of a slight barbershoppy vibe. It's a very old school type of scent, has a bit of a mature factor to it, but other than that this is a very impressive fragrance from Armaf. Performance here is pretty good, 7 to 8 hours of performance with nice projection, and all in all this is a very nice and underrated scent from the house of Armaf. And the only con for me with this fragrance is the very cheap filling bottle design, but other than that this again is a very nice clone or alternative to Chanel's Platinum Egoist. The next fragrance comes from the house of Zaafaran, and it's called Jaz Up Silver. Now this is another very underrated scent in my opinion. This fragrance is a clone of Armani's Acqua di Gio Profumo. It's more like a mix between the original Acqua di Gio and Acqua di Gio Profumo, lacks a bit of that incense vibe, a strong incense vibe that you get out of the original formulation of Profumo, but other than that it's a very decent clone. Again, another very cheap bottle looking and filling bottle. The performance here is about average, maybe slightly above average, about 6.5 hours. It's very cheap, and the scent quality is pretty decent. And the second Zaafaran fragrance featured in this video will be Dirgham Limited Edition. A very nice alternative for something like Chanel's Allure Homme Sport. It's not a direct clone, has a bit of a twist, but it's a great fragrance on its own. It's another fresh, very sweet, very musky scent that for a freshie has a fantastic performance. I'll be getting about 8 hours of performance, even a little bit over 8 hours of performance, with the very nice projection as well. Works great in warm and hot weather. The quality here is very nice, the price tag is very low, it feels a bit synthetic, but that's to be expected at this price point, and especially in the air this thing smells fantastic, and it's also a compliment getter. The next fragrance that I'm going to show you in this video comes from a less known brown, Middle Eastern brown, that's called Grandeur, and the fragrance is called Iconic Nuit. In fact, I just did a review of this fragrance. This fragrance is a very good clone of YSL La Nuit de l'Homme Blue Electric. Probably the closest thing the smell-wise to Blue Electric that I have tried. Very high quality, very nice packaging, a magnetic cap. You get that very sexy scent profile that has quite a lot of ginger, cardamom, lavender, some nice cedar oud, very creamy cedar oud. Very sexy fragrance. The only problem with this fragrance is the sort of an average performance that I get out of it, about 6.5 hours, but it's very cheap, and as I said, this is the closest thing smell wise to the original fragrance that I have tried. The next few fragrances that I'm going to show you will be from the house of Maison Alhambra. The first one is called Glacier Ultra, another relatively new fragrance to my collection. I just did a review of this one as well this week. This fragrance is a clone of Jean Paul Gaultier's Ultra Mauve, and it actually is a very impressive clone of Ultra Mauve. Lacks just a little bit of that, very sweet opening that the original fragrance has, but other than that, it's actually done very nicely with very high quality. Performance here is also pretty good, 8 to 9 hours of performance, and the price tag is relatively low, at least for me. I picked this one up for something like 21-22 euros, so roughly like $25, which I think makes it a very decent deal. The next one from Maison Alhambra that I'm going to feature in this video is called Toro Home. This one is a clone of Terry Dermes, and it's another very nicely done clone. It feels a little bit sweeter compared to the original fragrance, maybe a little bit less challenging, but other than that, you get pretty much the same scent profile. You got that citrusy, grapefruity opening with the woody, spicy, mossy dry down. Has a bit of an age factor, but the quality here is pretty nice, especially considering the very low price tag. Performance also is pretty solid, 7 to 8 hours of performance with nice projection, and all in all, it's a very nicely done clone of Terry Dermes. And the last Maison Alhambra fragrance that I'm going to feature in this video is called Exposé Intense. And this for me has been a really impressive find and a real hidden gem in my opinion. I don't know what exactly this fragrance is cloning, but I can tell you how this smells. It has a very nice aromatic, slightly spicy, woody, slightly sweet scent profile that works absolutely great and has a very high compliment factor. Performance here is decent, not super long lasting, maybe around the 7-hour mark, but has a very nice projection for the first up to 1.5 up to 2 hours. And again, another very cheap, very affordable fragrance. It has again a bit of a mature vibe, of a bit of a mature factor in my opinion, but it's a very versatile fragrance that just works all year round. The next two fragrances featured in this video will be from the house of Afnan. The first one is called Toti Blue, and this is a very high quality clone of Bulgari's Tiger. It's really nicely done, and the opening of this fragrance is probably my most favorite opening of all the clones of Tiger that I have in my collection. It has a very nice, very sweet, very realistic, juicy grapefruit note in the opening. The dry down is woody, slightly sweet, quite musky. A very versatile fragrance with great compliment factor. And as I said, super versatile and can be worn all year round, and also has fantastic performance. So if you're looking for a nice, sweet, slightly sweeter take on the Bulgari Tiger DNA with a very realistic and sweet, juicy grapefruit note in the opening of the fragrance, then definitely check out Afnan's Toti Blue. And the second Afnan fragrance, although technically it comes from one of their sub-brands, which is called Zimaya, will be Zimaya Sharaf the Club. Now this is an interesting scent. Some people say that this is a clone of Creed Aventus. Other people are saying that this is a clone of the newest release from Creed, the Aventus Absolute. Now to be honest, I've never tried the new flanker, but I'm familiar with the way that the original Aventus smells, and I can definitely say that Sharaf the Club definitely has this kind of vibes, although this feels fresher, a little bit more fruity, a little bit more soapy in my opinion. This is one of those fragrances that also needed a bit of time, a bit of maceration in order to reach their full potential. Initially I wasn't very happy with this, neither the scent nor the performance, but after a few months the scent got better and the performance definitely got better as well. I get about 8 hours of performance, maybe slightly over 8 hours, with a very nice projection in the first up to 2 hours. It's a very nice, fresh, soapy kind of feeling fragrance that again is super versatile, can be worn all year round, and has also a very high compliment factor. And the last 5 fragrances featured in this video will all be from the house of Lattafa. And I'm going to start with one of the cheapest Lattafas that you can get, which is called Lattafa Njia. This fragrance is a clone of Paco Rabanne's Invictus. You get that very sweet, fruity, bubblegummy type of scent that has quite a lot of musk on the dry down. Very youthful, very sweet scent. Not one of my personal favorites, to be honest, but I know that a lot of people like this one, and I also know that in the air this fragrance just is very likable for the people around you. Performance, in my experience, has been about average, about 6 hours, with a decent projection in the first hour and a half. But again, the best thing about this fragrance is the super low price tag. The next Lattafa featured in this video will be Shake Our Shook Final Edition. This fragrance is a clone of YSL YEDP, and it's probably my most favorite clone of YEDP. Slightly less sweet compared to the original scent, a little bit more spicy, a little bit more woody, slightly darker, a little bit more mature take on the the YEDP DNA. Very versatile fragrance, another super versatile fragrance that can be worn all year round. Performance here is above average, not anything spectacular, but still not bad either. And again, another great thing about this fragrance is the very low price tag. It's one of those Lattafas that's very underrated in my opinion. And so if you're a fan of the YEDP DNA, and you're looking for a cheap clone of Y with decent performance, then you can check out Shake Our Shook Final Edition. The next fragrance from Lattafa in this video will be Liam Grey. Liam Grey as it's marketed in some places. This fragrance is a clone of BDK's Gris Charnel, and it's actually a very nice clone of the original fragrance. It's one of those scents that in my opinion work great in the springtime, but more as a nighttime scent. Also, this fragrance is perfectly unisex in my opinion, has very good performance about the 8-hour mark. You got that slightly green, slightly spicy, slightly powdery and sweet scent profile. A very interesting fragrance that, as I said, works great in the springtime, but I think it's more of a nighttime scent. The second to last fragrance in this video and from Lattafa is Araf Legacy. Now, I was finally able to get my hands on a bottle of this fragrance. People have recommended to me this one for a very long time, but at least around here this used to be quite expensive, and I was finally able to get it off a sale for a good price, and it's part of my collection now. This fragrance, for those who don't know, is a clone of Parfum de Marly, sadly, and it's has a slight twist on it compared to the original fragrance, but it's this very likable, minty, citrusy, slightly sweet, slightly green fragrance, a bit of spices, very sort of a versatile fragrance, another very versatile fragrance that can be worn all year round, but the best time to wear this, in my opinion, is springtime. Performance, at least so far in my testing, has been very decent, considering that this is a fresh type of scent. The bottle definitely has a unique look to it, let's call it that, and this bottle can be used as a weapon, something for self-defense. And the last fragrance from Lattafa in this video, and the last fragrance in this video as a whole, will be Vintage Radio from the LFA Pride line. One of my best discoveries so far this year, a super fantastic fragrance that I absolutely love. It's a great clone of Initio's Paragon. You get that very nice, very sweet and juicy plum note, the Palo Santo, the lavender, the creamy sandalwood, a bit of, spices. It's a great fragrance, perfectly unisex thing that has a very nice performance, a very high compliment factor, and I think that the spring season is the best time to wear Vintage Radio. So if you're looking for a fantastically done clone of Initio's Paragon with great performance, definitely check out Vintage Radio from the LFA Pride line. And so guys, in today's video I showed you 15 awesome cheap fragrances that just work great in the springtime. I hope that you found this video interesting. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me in the next one. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.